Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a Zimbabwean man who is currently staying here in South Africa. Back home, I started as a police officer. I was just an ordinary police officer, and then I became a CID. I was working in the CID department. Then after that, I became a secret agent, and I was a bodyguard to this other man who was a minister. Let me tell you some other things that do happen during the election season. Whenever people are going for the elections back home in Zim, most of these politicians, they come out as if they are Christians, but there are things that they do in the dark, and they will never tell people that this is what they do. So when I was now a personal bodyguard to this other minister, I was surprised because you see, these opposition politicians, it is like they do not see eye to eye with the people that they will be fighting against in the government. One day, he told me that there was a man that was going to come and visit him, and to my surprise, it was the guy from the opposition party whom he was fighting against. He also wanted to be an MP, member of parliament, representing that constituency. They came, they had dinner on the same table, yet out there it seemed as if they were fighting against each other. Not only that, what really surprised me, Brother Nashi, was that we then went to this other village and we met up with this other Mozambican traditional healer. She then took us high up into the mountains to this other cave. So in that cave, there is this other grave of this other chief that was buried inside that cave. This man, he passed away during the wars of liberation. This was like a very long time ago. And that was when I was told that this chief is the one that decides whom does he want to govern in his province. So this is how the decision was made. When we entered into that cave, we were told that these two men that we had brought up into the mountain, each one of them was going to take his chance to sleep on top of that chief's grave. The MP for the opposition party, he went and he slept on top of the grave, and also the minister, he also slept on top of the grave. And then there was a snake that came out of nowhere. We were told that this snake that we were looking at, the snake was the representation of the spirit of the chief that was buried inside that cave. And this snake chose the minister and said that it wanted that minister to govern in that province. This is what I saw. From that day onwards, I started to understand why there are some strange things that happen in our country, because our country is governed by spirits. I only wish that these politicians, they could come out clean, stop pretending as if they are Christians when they know very well that during the night they do go around visiting traditional healers, and they do not tell their people that this is what they do in secret. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Then there is another message that was sent to me by our dear sister. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? When I was 22 years old, I then went with my husband to this other house that belonged to my husband's boss, and we sat down and they told us that if we wanted to be rich in life, we were supposed to sell our child to them, and they wanted to use our child for their money-making rituals. And that is how me and my husband became rich. We even came here to South Africa on business visas, because these people, they started a business for us here in South Africa, and they even bought a house for us here in South Africa. We do not go to work. We do not even know what type of a business these people do run for us. So this is how it all started back home in Berengwa, in the village from where I do come from, I was dating my husband since high school. He then went and he became an illegal gold miner. So when he impregnated another girl from the same village, I was really hurt, but I did not know that he impregnated that girl because he thought that since she was an orphan, she was going to agree to help him to perform these money-making rituals. He thought that I was not going to agree to help him to perform these money-making rituals. And after a month, when she had given birth, this girl, she just ran away from him because he had told her that he wanted to use the child that she had given birth to in money-making rituals, and she ran away. Where she went to, no one even knows. And then he came back to me and he apologized and he told me that he was still in love with me. Since I loved him quite a lot, I agreed and we started staying together. When we were staying together again, that was when I fell pregnant. That was the most painful thing that had ever happened to me. One day he returned back from work and he said, "My love, being an illegal gold miner, it comes with its own risk, and it is more like you are just a ritualist, because when you are down there underground, you can die at any given moment. How about we just do some rituals so that we can be rich and I'll stop being an illegal gold miner?" And I agreed. He told me that the child that I was carrying in my womb, his boss wanted to use that child after I would have given birth to my child. At first I did not agree, but later on I agreed. This was after he had taken me to the big city in Harare. I had never been there in my life, and when we arrived there, I saw that his boss was filthy rich. They sat with me down and they made me to understand that even Abraham in the Bible, he had to do some sacrifices, sacrificing his own child, even though he did not want to do that. When you want to achieve something in life, then you need to perform these blood sacrifices. I then gave birth to my daughter. After I had given birth to my daughter, then we were told that my daughter was going to become a crippled one, and this was what was going to happen. I accepted my fate and I said, if this is what is supposed to happen, then who am I to stop this? Because I was tired of being poor. Anyway, we stayed, me and my husband, until my child was crippled. Then that was when the money started flowing in. They asked us, where do you want to spend your rest of your lives? In which country? Because you are not supposed to be here in Zim. Because people, they will ask you, how did you end up being rich like this? Yet you were not working and you became rich all of a sudden. That was when me and my husband decided that South Africa is going to be our second home. So we came to South Africa, not illegally, but we came here on business visas, and they bought a beautiful house for us. All that we do is to sit back, relax, and enjoy the money. But whenever I look at my daughter, my heart is filled with pain, because when I look at him, I keep on wondering and I keep on asking myself, what kind of a life is she going to have? Is she going to get married? Will she be able to have children? Because she cannot do anything on her own. But whenever I cry, my husband will come and he will start to comfort me. My husband says to me, we did this so that our other kids can live a better life, because when we came to South Africa, we had other kids that I had here in South Africa, and they do live a very beautiful, normal life. And if we had not done this sacrifice, me and my husband would be stuck back in that village in Berengwa with no hope at all in life. I never thought that I will be that kind of a woman that will be able to buy a husband a car on his birthday. But because of the rituals that we did and the sacrifices, I can afford to do that. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. She says, sometimes I feel good, sometimes I do not. When I try to eat my money, then I think about the sacrifices that I had to do. Yeah, ne.